I just finished the book.
Hey, everybody. You've just run across 4 people who are avoiding doing any actual work by talking to each other about writing instead of actually writing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Who needs to write?
Just so
That's my mug.
That's perfect. Just so everybody knows, this is totally selfish for me. I just desperately needed to talk to some artists. So these are the 3 people that were nice enough to say yes, and please come along. There is a price of admission, however. If you are going to watch this video, I need you to do 3 things first. I need you to go on Amazon and I need you to buy Bloodstones, and go on Amazon and buy The Seventh Cadence. And I need you to go on Amazon and buy Wistful Ascending or whatever book you are on. So get those taken care of. If you'd like to go around the horn and introduce yourselves, please feel free. I'm sure everybody knows you already, but please go right ahead. Tori, you go first.
Hi, I'm Tori. I'm a dark fantasy author. I have Phased, which is a paranormal fantasy, and The Bloodstones, which is the first in a dark epic fantasy trilogy. And I'm also a booktuber. Tori Talks 2, because Tori Talks 1 was taken.
And some horse books that are very hard to find.
And out of print, yeah. I've been writing for a while.
I've looked.
I'm sure you have.
Jim, how about you?
Hey, Jim Wilborn. I'm an epic fantasy author, and I am the world's slowest indie author in the world. And I have a book. It's called The Seventh Cadence. It has a novella sequel as well. And yeah, I live in the deep south. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Isn't it pretty?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Look at this cover. Look at this cover.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love that one. But yeah, that's me. And I've been working on book 2 of the series, and made some significant progress over the past couple months after doing almost absolutely nothing for like 2 years. Well, not nothing, but you know, it was a rough time. It was a rough time.
And then we'll just go ahead and skip Joe altogether.
All right.
It was going to fuck your books, man, but okay. Already.
Joe, just in case anybody doesn't know you, please go ahead.
You should all go and buy Legend of Blackjack. I would start there. I've read the first book in the new trilogy, and I still think you should read Blackjack first. You don't have to. I think you should. I think you'll appreciate it. I am Jason Byrne, Hybrid Helix, and Partial. I have 7 books out, which feels there's Wistful Ascending. New covers coming probably in the next couple of weeks, and a complete rewrite of the second book is done today. I put the stamp on it, sent the EPUB to a few people. I revised.
Nice.
Thank you.
Here's to you, Joe. Well done. Toast in your honor.
You know, here's the thing about it being an indie author that I love. Right, you can do stuff that regular trade traditionally published authors can't do. Right, you find a typo in your book, you can just fix it, print on demand. Right, it's like you find more serious problems. So when I released Wistful Ascending, I spent a year learning how to write and completely rewrote that book and just re-released it, like just bam. And now I did it with book 2, and I don't think I'll ever do it for book 3. I think book 3 is fine, but I don't know. We'll see.
I'm a big fan of book 3.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I think book 3 is where I felt like I knew what I was doing. I never really felt super comfortable with book 2. There were some problems with it that took me years. I got help from Tori. I got help from someone else did a review of book 2 that like you Andy told me some things about book 2 that helped me figure out, like, come to realize what I needed to fix. Tori's, and there was one other person who I can't remember now, who was like, there's a couple things. Leslie.
Yeah,
like, that'd be really hilarious. Leslie Nerdy Narrative said a couple things, and I'm like, oh, it all coalesced. It finally like snapped in place. So I'm like, this is fundamentally the problem that I need to fix. So I owe all of you a debt. Anyway, hopefully it's a better book now, but I don't know. But
well, Wistful Ascending was improved. I'm sure the second book is going to be the same way. Just to pretend like I'm giving this conversation a framework, I did want to ask you guys, so we are finally over the hump, and I'm sorry this conversation didn't happen 2 weeks ago when it was supposed to, and thank you very much. But what are your actual plans for 2025? And how likely do you think it is that you're going to accomplish them?
Bold of you to assume we have plans, Andy. Well, kind of on Joe's note, I also have a little bit of a celebratory announcement. As of about an hour and 20 minutes ago, my final draft, or my first final draft of Cold Silver for Souls, is finished.
Yes.
And I'm just kind of riding the high right now. I am super giddy and in a great mood. So,
and by the way, Cold Silver for Souls was my favorite short story in this. So
thank you. Yes, it started as a short story for the Advent of Winter anthology, which I was in with Jim and quite a few of our friends whenever it came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
No,
last Christmas.
2023. Last 2023 Christmas.
Right.
What is time?
Yeah.
And yeah, and that was really fun. Dominish Books was the host for it. Yep, and he also has a short story in there. And I fell in love with the character. I started something completely from scratch, fell in love with the character, and as so many of us do, I was like, this is more than a short story, isn't it? So I spent all last year writing Cold Silver for Souls, and it's officially in the moving from drafting to editing stage now, which I'm thrilled about. So
who's your editor? Someone we know?
I have a amazing alpha team that's going to be doing primarily all of my edits. So yeah.
Okay, so actually asking questions about details and how you do. I mean, because you've been through this since you were a kid, and then you started doing this on your own, and this will be number 3, I think. Have you developed a pattern that you feel like that works, or are you still kind of making it up as you go?
Yeah, in a way, because I feel like every book, and I don't know if Jim and Joe would be able to speak to this experience too, but I feel like every book kind of requires a slightly different process, even if it's like you've got kind of your process of this is how I want to go through what works for you. Every book has its own challenges because it's a different story on some level. And I think with this one, it's the first time I've ever written in first person present, which was a big challenge. And I loved it. And I wasn't sure I would ever do that. And then I found Hunter as a character, and I was like, oh, I just needed the right character.
Yeah.
And she just came to life so quickly in the short story that I knew I wanted to keep going with her story. And it's been incredibly cathartic, and it's been probably the hardest book I've ever written, but I'm incredibly proud of it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Nice. And today's the day that you said alpha team away?
No, I'm not there. They'll be getting it probably next week, because I'm going to do a quick read through, change a couple things that I know I want to do. I typically draft like multiple drafts at once. A lot of people will just blaze through a first draft and then they'll go back to the beginning and whatnot. I sort of do multiple drafts at once. So I'm editing as I'm drafting that first time, because I can't turn my inner editor off. I've tried everything. I can't do it. I admire writers that can do it. I can't. So the first draft is essentially kind of draft 3 or 4 by the time I'm done with it. So it's ready for the alpha team by the time I finish it, typically with a little bit of rework. So
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
We got a little common thread going here of people bringing things over the finish line. Jim, what do you got planned for 2025?
Okay. So as of today, if we're going to be celebrating things, I've officially hit what I assuming is the 25% mark for my sequel. I'm very happy about that.
Nice.
As Tori displayed, my books are chunky. So they take a while for me to write. I'm very picky about my prose, even in first draft. So I just take my time through it, especially with weaving together the plot lines. And I just hate massive revisions now after I had to do one for a book like that. And it was just like, no, I'm getting it right first. So I'm at the 25% mark. My plan, because I am on a tear right now, My plan is to finish this book by the end of the year. Not promising that because I don't know what's going to happen as I continue to draft. But my plan, if I keep the pace that I'm going right now, this book will be done by the end of the year. And I am very excited about that. I'm trying very, very hard not to get distracted by anything else.
You got this.
No kidding.
You know, as soon as I get like on a really good roll, my brain's like, you know what would be cool?
Yeah.
And
No, shut up.
No, yeah, shut up. Like I have a good thing going. Stop trying to derail me. So
I got two questions on that. Number one, if you're 25% in, how long did it take you to get 25% of the way in? Number two, what got you started on your tear?
Well, cumulative. If you're talking cumulatively, because I had a big gap between my first tear and my current tear. So I would say about 3 months.
Nice.
So cumulatively, like if I put it all together. So my problem is that I will start working on something and I will hit a wall. And I plan my books a lot, as Tori will tell you. Like, but I can still hit a wall where I'm like, I don't know how to do this scene. Like, I thought I knew what the scene was going to be, but I didn't really know. Like, there were details I didn't plan out, or I didn't fully imagine it. And I get to it, I'm like, I don't really know what this scene is supposed to do. And that can like grind me to a halt. And I can just pace around for a week trying to figure out what to do with it. Or I will get distracted with something, building, merch or something. And then some month passes and it's like, oh my God, I haven't written anything, So so that's the whole thing. But yeah, about 3 months to get 25%. That's about 50,000 words.
Okay, that's question one. Question two is what started your tear?
Well, I came back from working on a film and I was like, I gotta buckle down. Like, I this whole year has been awful. And my first tear, I stopped writing to work on another project that I wanted to release before this one. And I wrote it, I drafted the whole thing, and I got to the end of it, and I was like, this is broken. Like, this is not working. And I was like, okay, I'll just revise it. So I stopped, and then I worked on some other things, doing some dev edits for some other people. I came back to it, and I was like, okay, I can fix this. I can fix this. I've done this before. I can fix this. And there was just no motivation to fix it because it was broken in a way that I was like, I just don't even like this story now. Like, I just hate this thing. And that was a really big hit to my ego, like in a really bad way. Like, I could not get back on the horse after that. And, at that point, like, I just stopped writing. I took my first vacation ever. Like, I left. I took my first vacation ever. Did absolutely nothing. Did no client work or anything. And I came back and I felt better. And I was like, I can start doing this again. I started tinkering around, rereading what I had wrote. I was like, okay, this story, this is the story that, like, book 2 is what I should be writing. This one is working. Then a hurricane hit.
Minor inconvenience.
And then after that, like almost directly after that, I went to working on the movie and I came back and I was like, all right, let's go. And I just started writing, and that's where I am today. So yeah.
Nice.
So do you feel like, which was more beneficial for getting over the hump? Was it going and doing nothing and saying, screw you, and jumping off the cliff? Or was it going and working like on the movie where you've got something else that's entirely occupying your head?
I think it was probably a combination between all the things. Part of it too was at around the time when I started working on it again, I had a chat with one of my close writer friends, and I was like, I think because in the back of my head, I still had it in the back of my head that I had to fix that other project. And as soon as we talked and realized that I could let it go and just never talk about it ever again. Well, I'm talking about it now, but like never just, I'm not going to fix it. I'm just going to let it go. Like, it's okay if I wasted time working on it and that's wasted words. Like, just let it go. It's gone now. Like, don't worry about it. And then as soon as I let that flush through me, you know, like, then I could focus on something else again. Like, it was, because that was always in the back of my head of like, you got to fix this thing though. Like, it's still there, it's sitting, it's waiting for you, you know, and you probably should release it first, you know, that'll be good for your career because it's a good lead into something else. And I'm like,
We have trunks.
Yeah. Well, and also it's not, I mean, I'm a big believer in stepping stones as writers and how there's no such thing as wasted words, in my opinion, because the words, getting that all out of your system and like working through it may have been what jostled things around enough to get your brain working again on book 2. So even though it feels like wasted time, I don't think it is.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, I did get to explore something that I'll be able to do in later books in a way, which is kind of nice. So I guess if you just look at it as like, oh, I'm doing an exercise to see what this magic would look like, you know, later on. Like, that's nice. You know, I kind of have a framework now. So
yeah.
I mean, they're writer. I forget who said it, but some writer well known said, you know, you got to write 1 million words before you write anything good. I don't know if that's accurate, but like, you got to always think like, you know, all the famous authors have trunks full of unreleased works.
Right.
Not in the greats, but I have a lot of manuscripts in the folders.
yeah.
One way or another, right? Like I have a Dropbox full of books written over a very long period, longer than you two. Right? I have a novel finished in last century. So
wow. All right, Joe. So what's your 2025 look like?
All right, so Return of the Griffin should come out in the next week or so once I get the new cover. You know, you can't get the paperback covers done until you know the page count, which you can't get until it's like dominoes.
Yeah.
The new covers for books 1 through 5, just new graphic design. The artwork's the same. Then
I was going to say.
Artwork. Okay, so Tori, I don't know if I told you the story. I think I told Andy.
Yeah.
I was hanging out at Dragon Con with Jeff Brown. And we're just talking about covers and what sells, and we're just hanging out. Like, I didn't pay him. And he's like, I was like, yes, a lot of people don't like my covers, but a lot of people love them. It's really weird. And he's like, well, let me see. And I'm like, I'm not going to argue with Jeff Brown, right? So I pull him up, and he's like, your typography is not doing you any favors. That was the first word out of his mouth. And I'm like, tell me more. So he gave me some pointers, and he's like, you don't want to hire me because I'm expensive and I have a backlog, but you can hire someone else to follow these sort of rough guidelines and get you something that's going to work better for your genre. And I'm like, you know more than I do about this. I would be a fool to not listen to Jeff Brown about how to make a cover that sells books. So I got J. Caleb Designs, who does graphic design, as well as he's done a couple covers for me to redo because I have the raw artwork. I bought it, that was always mine, because Chris McGrath doesn't do typography. He just does the paintings. If you look you don't need to look, but if you looked at my books, I had a different person do the typography. She did what I asked, but you don't have to read Return again. It's the same story. It's just I changed very little in terms of the overall structure. I just took some things out and I replaced one element, but it's all very minor. I wouldn't say you should read the book again. Anyway,
a little less satire.
I took out the political satire, basically all of it. And I made it less grounded in time, right? So now if you read it, apparently I've established the exact timeline of my whole series, because I did something in book 6 that says this is 2025, but I meant it as a joke, but people take it seriously. But that's another thing. It doesn't matter. It's an alternate world. Anyway, so that's all coming out hopefully in the next couple of weeks, because the covers are done. All I need is the paperback and the hardcover for one of them. The other ones I all have. I'm going to release that, and then I want to get 2 more Hybrid Helix books out, and then at the end of the year, I'm really hoping to get some audio done because Wayne is coming back to working on my narrator on audio in October. And I'm like, can I put it now? Yeah, finally. Well, he had health issues. He had some serious issues to get through. It's not like a lazy guy. You know, he had a serious health crisis and a financial crisis that came from the health crisis. And, you know, now he's moving back to Ireland and he's going to set up a studio. And he's like, starting in October, I'm going to work on audio again. I'm like, set me down for at least 2. So I'm hoping to start getting 2 to 3 audiobooks a year done by him until we catch up.
Nice.
That's a big chunk of cash is the problem. But I'm hoping that I can get the first 3 and maybe like an omnibus and maybe make some, because that's the best way from what I've heard to make money on audio. It's like 3 in 1, people spend a credit. That's what Dirk told me. So, but I want to get 7 and 8 of Hybrid Helix out. I have the plots for both. So that should be doable. Based on
Are you saying 7 and 8 will be out in 2025?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's easy.
I did 5 and 6 came out last year, and I did the 25 issues of Grimdorf.
That's true.
So that's a sustainable pace. They're not long. I mean, they're not 200,000 word books. They're all almost exactly 120, and I have a system down for writing now. I mean, it's 7 and 8. It's not 2 and 3, right? It's not the same thing. Like I know my overarching story. I know the plot elements I need to throw in. Like I couldn't have done this 3 years ago, but it's not 3 years ago. So you don't know. Something could happen in my life. That interferes with this. But I contracted with Chris for 2 covers this year. Yeah. I told him what I wanted was I told him right up front. I'm like, Derek. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Sorry, what did Derek say?
He's 60% the Return of the Griffin. He read the old version. I'm sorry, man.
Joe will send you another ebook. It's okay.
I'm happy to send anyone an ebook. If anyone's curious and wants to look at it, I'm happy to send anyone. I'm not trying to sell the new version to people who have bought the old version. The goal is new readers onboarding. Hopefully, we'll get. And I was really wanted to get the rewrite done before I got the audio done. I don't want to have to redo the audio also of the new version.
Like, that would be a nightmare.
Once Wayne, then that's a new book, right? That's starting from scratch. Because I touched I'm sure every page a little bit. The story's the same, right? The overall, like if you described it in like 10, in like 3 sentences, it's the same thing,
right?
But the details are different.
It's going to be the same.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited to get to book 3.
Thank you. Yeah.
You'll like 3.
I'm excited.
Tight.
I heard vampires in space, and that's all I needed.
Book 3 is vampires, and there's like a little I like to have a 1-word like thing. Like book 1 is bears. Book 2 is sharks. Book 3 is vampires. Book 4 is I can't give it away because it's a little bit of a spoiler. But once you read it, you'll know exactly what the deal is.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed at how many clues I planted in book 2 for book 4 that I forgot I put in there that were in there. I didn't put it in like in retrospect. Like people making offhand comments, and I'm like, oh, that's actually like something they're going to explore later.
Easter eggs.
It's fun with I have put so many Easter eggs. Oh, I don't know how many of you will appreciate this. Any of you guys see The Last Dragon?
I know of it. I haven't seen it.
80s action film. Andy has to have seen it. Andy, you have to.
Maybe.
Maybe you didn't.
Maybe I don't remember it. Oh, yeah. Dumb kung fu movie.
Yes. So there's a whole scene in there taking place in Daddy Green's Pizza. Right. So I put it in my book. I'm like,
nice.
Going back home, he's like, this pizza shop gets busted up, and I made it Daddy Green's Pizza. Like I made the owner of the pizza shop the name of like the owner's kid from the movie, because the movie came out in like 85 or something. And then I made references to the martial artist brother, just like my brother's going to be back and he'll take care of everything. I'm like, all right. And he doesn't appear on the page, but I'm like, I just stole a whole movie, stuck it in the book.
Okay.
Bruce Leroy.
So everybody has heard what everybody's goals for 2025 are. So it's your responsibility to hold them all to it.
Well,
Contracts have been locked in stone.
I can promise I will have at least one book published this year.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
So let me do the double question. What do you feel like you're good at now? Like, what do you feel like you've perfected in terms of a skill? And the flip side of it is what do you really struggle with? Because sorry, I'm going to ask
asking the hard questions right away.
Well, yeah, kind of. Well, and we're right away. We're half an hour into it, but for me, just to get my hard one out of the way. Sorry, that's a terrible joke waiting to happen. But I really struggle with the audiobooks, right? The amount of time that it takes, the amount of effort that it takes, the fact that you have to go through all this effort because it's, let's pretend the audiobook is 13 hours long. Okay, that means you have to do 26 hours of recording. Oh, by the way, when it's done, you have to listen to the entire thing again. And then you go through and edit it, and then you have to listen to all the parts that you edited, and then you have to listen to the whole thing. It's just a ridiculous time suck, and I hate it. And I'm really struggling with it right now. Nobody needs to solve that problem, but just so you don't feel like you have to walk out naked and go, oh, here's what I struggle with. I'm going to open with mine and just let you know what that is. So, what are the things that you're good at? How did you develop those skills? And what are the things that are driving you crazy?
So for me, I mean, consistency is my biggest issue. You know what I mean? Like when I'm going, it goes well. But, either I'll run into a wall or something, just something weird in my life will happen, or I have to stop writing to work on something else for a client or something like that. And that, then getting back into the rhythm of it is tough. But what am I good at?
Yeah.
I mean, everything that's not the writing now.
Which is a lot.
I've gotten, I have a really strong publishing pipeline, I have a very strong system for it. I know exactly what to do. I have lists on lists and checklists and all kinds of things. I'm really good at writing book descriptions. Really
teach me your ways.
Yeah,
right?
I've done it for I did it for the anthology that we did. I honestly, the way I practiced that skill was just writing them for other books. Because I've written a lot of book reviews on Goodreads and on my website, and I make a paragraph book description as part of it. What is this book about? And I try to condense it into what the book's about in a way that a book description actually should be. That's how I practice that skill. But I'm good at that. I'm not bad. I'm awful at ads. Ads I don't like that. That's the worst thing ever. Right. But yeah, audiobooks. I don't do the audiobooks, but I've edited a bunch of audiobooks. I'm good at that. To me, I just find it relaxing, especially if the story's good, but yeah,
So quick question for Joe and Tori. If the struggle is consistency, have you stumbled across something that worked for you for consistency? Is there a couple of punches that you've taken that helped you to say, oh, this helped me get better at consistency? And if the answer is no, that's okay. Just curious.
My kids are grown and my wife works a lot.
Fair enough.
I don't know how people do it with little kids. Tori, I have no idea.
It's taken me a year to write an 80,000 word book. So yeah, for me, I'm not good at consistency either. And I'm very affected by my, the external emotional environment that I'm in. So, 2024 was a really rough year, and it shows in my writing. in terms of just how long it took me to get through. Pulling the creativity out was a lot harder. Yeah, exactly. And my kids are, getting into middle school kind of age now, and so they're a lot more active in different things, and we're homeschooling. So like, so I actually am quite proud of the fact that I finished a book in a year.
Thank you. Thank you. That is
I did
correct.
it, guys. I finally finished it. I got it.
Yeah.
And I feel very blessed because I have amazing children and I have a great relationship with my kids and I adore them. And so it's not them, it's me. But yeah, I think for me, it's just pure raw stubbornness at this point, to be perfectly honest. Like, I can't stop writing because I can tell that it affects my mental health severely if I go too long without writing, because it's just in my DNA at this point. And I need that kind of catharsis to help me get through all the things that are going on externally.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Jim, I'll say that for me, like the thing that helps me most is that I have written professionally for I don't know how long. So I got used to deadlines being met a long time ago. And I got to be honest with you, man, I suck at consistency. Like the last 2 months, right? I'm just recording the stupid audiobook and I'm editing the stupid audiobook. And I'm like, okay, great. You did 90 minutes. Now it's time to go write. Well, I just spent 90 minutes telling a story. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. So my consistency has sucked, but I will say that I am one of those people that responds really well to a deadline. So sometimes you don't have to be on all the time, but I do feel like you can force yourself to get on a tear if you have set a deadline for yourself and you actually take it seriously. Because it's kind of like the teacher grabbing you by the back of the neck and going, okay, the assignment's due, dummy. And that works really well for me.
Well, it's like I sat down today and I was like, today is the day I finish Cold Silver. Period. And I knew I could do it. I knew I was closer than I thought I was. And I wrote like 2,500 words in 2 hours and just finished it. So I think, depending on the deadline. After I procrastinate for months.
I have a very expensive line editor that I love. And I have to book her months in advance. So I book her before I start the book. And then I've got a hard deadline. She needs that first copy by March 1 or April 1, whatever it is. I don't have a choice. It's not March 1. But
because either it's done or you don't get a line edit until July. Right?
I'm not sure she could give me my money back. I don't know. We haven't run into that. Technically, she could keep my deposit and say sorry. I think she likes me. I don't think she would do that, but I'm sure there'd be some kind of financial penalty because she's got to, schedule herself. She's also, in her credit, like she's like clockwork. Like if she says you give it to me on the first of the month, I have it back to you by the end of the month. She's always at least a week early, and it's done. So she expects that from me, which forces me to do it.
Yeah. My issue is I don't have a whole lot of external pressure. I mean, I have a ton of client work. I do video editing for people, audio book editing for people. I mean, I don't tend to be late, but
you're not missing a deadline.
I mean, they're like, I need it this time. I'm like, I can't do it then, but I can do it then, and it will be done when I say it's going to be done. So I don't know. I think if I did have a boss that wasn't me, it would be a little bit different probably. But I think though, I'm finding that sometimes the thing that gets me to write again is when I write a scene that I really enjoyed. And I'm trying to make every scene I write enjoyable in some way to me, because obviously because I want it to be enjoyable for the people to read it. And like knowing that I made that, right now is what's keeping me, moving forward. And also kind of like almost like a simple belief that my story kind of matters, even if I'm not sure it does to anyone. Like I kind of believe it matters now. So I think that's starting to keeping me consistent a little bit too.
Mhm.
Nice.
So
Joe, Tori, stuff you're good at, stuff you're not so good at.
I got a one that I'm really not good at that it took me a long time to realize. I am not good at art direction. I think a lot of authors understand that they're not good artists, that you can't make your own cover. But I have a deeper problem in that I have a very hard time recognizing a good cover when I see it, or a good artist, or no. But that means I'm not good. So, like, just for example, that's my typography. Jeff Brown says it's terrible. I loved it. Like, my graphic designer, she put that up and she's like, what do you think of this? I'm like, I think it's fantastic because it looked. But I believe many other people have been like, oh no, the new stuff's going to sell better. A lot of people in the indie community. I showed around some people on Discord, so I believe them, but I can't see it. And I got really lucky because you know, with my artists, I have some great covers, but it's been luck because I've had some artists I have worked with where I know they can do great covers because I've seen beautiful stuff from them, and I've given them like, this is what I want, and they do what I say, and it's like terrible, or maybe not terrible, but like not good. And it's like, what? Well, who's the problem there? It's me, right? Like if you're giving someone the brief and you know they can do really great work because you've seen it on other covers, and your thing comes back like, you did what I said, doesn't look good. It's like, so I think art direction, and like, okay, you know, like Petrick's doing all this art direction for like Broken Binding, and I've seen some people be like, yeah, what is that? And I'm like, no, that's a real skill set. Like, that is not BS, right? Finding it, because I know people who consistently find artists who do phenomenal Pinson Wu. Baptiste Pinson Wu. Sorry, thank you. He is a genius because every one of his covers is gold. Different artists, he finds these people. I don't think he's finding the people who are like, it's not like it's all Felix Ortiz, where you're just tossing a bunch of money and time at a guy and saying, you're going to be great because you're Felix Ortiz. He's finding people you've never heard of, and every cover is absolutely stunning. I'm like, I don't know where that's a skill. That's an ability that I finally realized I do not have. So people are like, when are you going to do a special edition? I can't. Like, you know, like I wouldn't recognize the person who could make me a great interior front for my book because I wouldn't look at their portfolio and go, yeah, that's the right person. It's not even about having the money. It's like, I don't have the eye. Yeah. So I realized that this last year. I was like, oh, and that's tough because you don't want to hire an art director, right? Like, that doesn't exist in the indie world. Like, I'd love to give Wraithmark and say, look, I'll just pay you to like set up a Kickstarter for me and do all that stuff. They're not doing that. But I don't know. I just won't do special editions for a while. Like, and if I had enough time, I feel like I could kind of brute force my way through some of it. Because you have enough time. Like, if I could quit my day job, right? Like, okay, it's a different story. But right now, I'm just like, no, I'm just not. Because like I said, I don't know how Baptiste does it, but he just, you guys have seen this. His covers are like, everyone's a freaking banger.
Yeah.
And they're different, not the same style. It's not like he found one person who bangs out covers for him that are all the same. Like, at least 3 completely different styles for 3 different, like, of his things, and they're bangers. And I'm like, oh. So I need to kidnap that guy. He lives really far, though. I don't know how to smuggle a dude out of Japan.
We can make it happen. We can do anything.
You know Quentin Tarantino. You can help me. He's got to know how to kidnap a dude.
Quentin smuggles people back and forth all the time. It'll be fine.
That was my I'm not good at this realization.
Yeah.
People don't talk about that. Like, authors don't talk about, are you a good art director for yourself? I've never heard anyone really discuss that aspect. Some people say I do my own covers. That's a difference. I'm not even talking about that.
Yeah.
That was my thing.
Do you guys have any advice for that? Because I got nothing for that.
I do.
Oh, please.
Don't be your own art director. I mean, honestly, that's the only really advice that I can give you. I mean, unless it's a skill set that you think you really need to improve on, but I don't think that's your core competency, nor should you try to make it. You know?
Some artists don't need direction and they'll come up with the good shit. Jeff Brown, you can tell, right? But like I think Chris, my artist for my covers, does great. But he doesn't do typography or graphic design. He just says like, oh, I don't do that. Sorry, right?
Yeah,
So
here's the art.
are artists who are good at assembling the whole package out of nothing. But that again, that's a different skill for an artist.
Yep.
I don't think all great. I think Felix is probably good at that. He seems to be. He seems to always have banger covers. Felix Ortiz.
Yeah.
I suspect he just doesn't need much in the way of direction. He's just his problem is not his problem. My problem with using him is that he's got like a ridiculous waiting list and he's pricing, which he deserves. Which he deserves. Like I'm not criticizing Felix Ortiz. Anyway.
Yeah. I think too, like with Batiste, one of the things I do every once in a while on Twitter is I have a list that I've compiled over the last couple of years of over 90 artists that I follow on Twitter. And I love Portfolio Day. That's like one of my favorite things on Twitter because I just scroll through Portfolio Day posts and I look to see who's following them because usually some of the artists I already follow them. And if it's an artist that I'm more familiar with that follows them, that tells me that, they're at least probably somebody I might want to add to the list. And both of the cover artists that I'm working with for Cold Silver, and also I have the second cover for the Bruhai books done already. Both of those artists have been exceptional to work with, and they were both ladies that I found through Twitter Portfolio Day, and they're just brilliant. They've been so professional to work with, and like I gave them cover briefs, so I sent each of them like a several page cover brief of like, this is what the characters look like visually. This is kind of the environment that I'm looking for, kind of the general idea of the piece I'm looking for. Please give me your input because the reason I'm hiring them is because I like their style and their composition or whatever it is. And I felt like with both of them, we were able to kind of do a very collaborative process where they would make suggestions and then I would be like, oh yeah, that's actually way better. Love that. So yeah, both of them have been fantastic. Cold Silver is completely separate from everything I've written because it's the indie world. So why not? But writing Cold Silver, I was not in a mental space to work on Queen's Wolf last year, and Cold Silver kept me writing. So this year, like I'm so excited to go back to Queen's Wolf this year, you guys. I'm so ready. My headspace is way better. Very much excited for that. And I promise that I will write the sequel to Phased at some point soon. So, but yeah, nice. Art direction is tough.
Tell me about this Portfolio Day you speak of. What is this?
Yeah, so on Twitter, if you just search #Portfolio Day, you will be inundated with artists that basically it's a day every once in a while, like once or twice a month, that happens where people will do #Portfolio Day and they'll post some of their like 4 pieces that they've done that kind of represent their work as an artist. And I just scroll through for 20-30 minutes and go, ooh, wow, that's so cool. Wow, why are these people so talented for like 20-30 minutes, and add a bunch of them to my artist list. And then when I was looking for artists for the 2 books for this next year, I had an idea, especially for Cold Silver. I knew I wanted it to be a slightly different style than what I've done before. And I just looked through my list of artists and I was like, okay, who do I think already kind of pulls off this style and could, do that sort of. And with Bloodstones, it had to be somebody, because my original cover artist took a step back from art. So I had to find somebody who could match at least sort of the style and vibe of the first cover so that they don't look completely disjointed from each other. And she did an amazing, you guys, I cannot wait to show off that cover. It's so beautiful.
Nice.
So Andy, what's your experience with artists? Like I've never heard you talk about your experience with doing cover art.
Professionally or with the book? I have been around artists my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I'm very happy to be in Indiana. It's a lovely place to raise a child. It's very safe. The schools are very good, but it is boring in terms of community, right? It was like part of the reason I was begging for tonight. So is the question, what is my experience with artists in general? What is my experience with artists in a professional capacity, which I do every day? Or what is my experience with artists on the books themselves?
On the books.
On the books. So
Like,
I got really lucky with
Yeah.
Blackjack because the interior art is phenomenal. And that was kind of a portfolio day find where I went through maybe 200 artists and I found the guy who did the style that I liked, that's mainly line drawing and fairly simple. And really, at the end of the day, what I wanted was the interior art for Wish Song of Shannara, which was Daryl K. Sweet, right? I just want line drawings by Daryl K. Sweet. And this guy had the right kind of detail. And I got really lucky, and he was fantastic. And he has disappeared. He has gone into the ether. The rumor is he may have gone to the Arctic Circle and will never come back. We don't know what happened to him. So if he happens to show up, I would be happy to hire him for another run. With the cover artists, Blackjack was kind of like my idea for what I wanted. And then I had an artist who's a Disney guy who put it together for me. And it was just like, okay, go. And personally, I don't think the cover for Blackjack is all that good because it's kind of difficult to see what it is. And it's like, is this a sword? But, figuring out that it's a scalpel probably doesn't work. And then I stole Chiago's cover artist for the Rooker Flynn books because I loved his colors. I thought his color, Alejandro is just phenomenal when it comes to that stuff. And so he put together 3. And my only requirement for those was that, okay, every book has a ring here and we've got the lock on the side. I need to break the ring. I need things coming out of the ring. And he... like,
okay, came back.
You've got the ring in the center, but we're going to do a ship coming out of the ring. Sorry, this isn't published yet, which is why it's got the stripe. But like, yay, we're breaking that plane. And like in the 3rd book, we turn the ring into a noose. And so it's like playing on the theme is really nice, which I like. However, truth be told, I said, hey, would you be interested in working with me again? Am I okay to work with? And he said, you're okay to work with. However, the ring in the center is a problem because it's extremely limiting in terms of what you can do. It forces you to be very creative, but it also makes it impossible to do a full page splash art. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's absolutely true. So my experience has been great. I think artists are fantastic. I think artists, even more so than writers, really want to please you. Like they want you to tell them that they're good and that they have value because this thing that they made for you is wonderful and beautiful. And that's what they get fed off of. And a little bit the same for us, right? When we read one of those good, oh my gosh, Jem, you were like, I don't remember how many days ago. It was like 2-3 weeks ago. But what was the actual quote from you? I made the mistake of checking my reviews today.
Yep. My friend Casey, while I was finishing Cold Silver, she's one of my closest friends and she's in my Discord and everything. And she goes, you are not allowed to look at Goodreads until this book is done. I was like, yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Well, and Joe beat me up about that. Joe didn't beat me up about that. Joe set a path for me when he said I needed to stop looking at my reviews because
Joe sent Rohan to beat you up.
Yeah, exactly. Rohan has been to my house several times. But he was like, I had to stop looking at my reviews for my mental health. There are set times when I'm allowed to check my reviews and check my numbers, right? Because if you do that all the time, you're just like, it's Mark Zuckerberg at the end of The Social Network, where he's just clicking refresh over and over again, waiting for his girlfriend to follow him on Facebook. Maybe she'll love me now. Maybe she'll love me now. And it's like, So sorry, Jim, to answer your question, I feel like artists are amazing. I'm definitely in Joe's boat. I've got some experience art directing. I'm okay at it, but I also know that I'm way too close to the material, where I think something will look good, when somebody who has no idea what the story about is going to go, I don't understand what that is. And I honestly, coming back around to what Joe was saying, I feel like this is one of the places where traditionally published authors have it better than they think they do.
Absolutely.
Because they don't get a say. You are not allowed to have a say. Here is your cover, dummy. This is what we have decided we can sell. Like, well, I don't like that. Well, too bad.
It's somewhat true, and it's also one of the reasons I could never go trad.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I want to. I'll go for it.
I said I could. Tor, call me.
Yeah, Tor, I'm hearing.
Sorry.
But
Yeah, I don't think I want to give up cover control, but
Right.
at the same time, man, would it be nice that it was completely off my hands and they gave it to me and it was always what I liked.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why can't we have that?
Just
Well,
give me
and one of the-
exactly what I want.
I appreciate too that one of the things that has been really cool is giving like the general idea to the artist and seeing them return it in a way that's even better than
Much
what
better.
I had in my head.
Much better.
And like in terms of the collaborative thing, the artist I was working with for the Queen's Wolf cover, she had given me the final draft of it, and I was like, I don't know why, but something's not right, and I can't figure it out, and I'm sweating because it's the most I've ever paid for a cover, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't love it. What's wrong with it? It's not her, it's me. What's wrong? And I finally figured out that it was a posing issue. And so I sent her, it'll make sense, I promise. So I sent her an email and I was like, so don't kill me. But what if we turn the character's face? Because originally the character's looking off the page. And in Bloodstones, we have a character that's directly confronting the reader, which I really like.
Yeah.
And that's not what was going on in the second book. It was like this light bulb moment where I was like, okay, we need to like confront the reader again on book 2. And she sent it back with the repaint of the face, and it completely changed the entire cover. And I was like, there it is. It's beautiful. I love it. Perfect. But sometimes that's why I like finding somebody that's more collaborative, where we can like, okay, why isn't this working? Let's adjust a little bit. And they're not ready to wring your neck because you're,
That's the skill.
It is. She was amazing. I'm going to plaster her all over my social media content when that cover comes out, because she's been so professional and wonderful to work with.
Well, so the boys have had their say. Tori, where do you feel like you've gotten really good, and where do you feel like this is driving me crazy?
I think I have finally gotten to a point in the last couple of years where I'm really looking for the feedback I'm getting from my alpha and beta teams once the book is done. Like, constructive criticism is something I feed off of now. I love it because I've been staring at this thing for a year. I'm exhausted, and I know that your comments of what needs to be fixed and what's not working is going to kickstart the best version of this story. So I don't get like scared off by constructive criticism anymore at all. I get very excited about it, which is kind of weird, maybe.
No, it's wonderful when you can finally get your ego out of the way and accept it.
Yeah, well, and part of it is because what we do, at least for me, is like, it's such a special thing when you finally can come out of the cave and blink a few times in the bright sunlight and then hand it to other people, because finally somebody else can experience the story, right? And so the alpha and beta teams are kind of your first it's like candy, right? It's Christmas morning. It's like, here, and you get a draft and you get a draft. And I'm so excited.
Look at what I have made for you.
So like, I'm in a great mood today because I'm moving into that stage where I'm really excited to send that off to everybody.
I love that.
So I love that. I love constructive criticism from the village that I've built. Right. And that's the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people that can help you be the best version of yourself as a writer. Consistency is a big struggle for me too, for sure. And I don't know. I would say consistency is probably one of the things I really struggle with, which I'm giving myself a lot of grace for because of the phase of life that I'm in and just all of the extra demands on my time. So yeah. And I mean, the channel is another basically part to full-time job by itself.
I don't understand how you do the channel and the kids, much less writing.
Insomnia.
Like,
Is the real answer to that.
more caffeine.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, here's the other thing that I think has helped my consistency. I started a word count spreadsheet. Now, I have always not cared about my word counts, and I kind of still don't care, although I did put a goal in the spreadsheet. But the fact of putting those things in each day's column and like seeing the gaps like make me annoyed. Like,
Yep.
so, like it's like I don't want to make a gap day, and then like seeing it tick up has been helpful. And not only that, okay, so I do cheat with the word count. And kind of, so one way is that since being an author is more than just writing a book, I will count anything I write that's a part of being an author. If I have to write a newsletter, that's going in the word count sheet. I count that
Nice.
I had to write today. If it's writing a blog post, that counts as long as it's part of my author platform. I get to count that. Most of it I have to do for the book because I mean, how many blog posts am I gonna write? So, but that helps a little bit because it helps me, not feel as bad like I'm typing away at this newsletter. I'm like, oh man, I gotta get back to the thing. I'm like, no, this is part of it. It's okay. The other thing is that I'm doing this new process for this book where, kind of like you, Tori, I'm writing the first and second drafts simultaneously.
Yeah.
And by that I mean I write the scene and then I immediately rewrite it, almost in a zero draft beady kind of way. So the first of, like, if it's a 3,000 word chapter or something, the first draft is like 1,000 words. And I'm just like, I don't care how this sounds. Like, and it's purely mechanical. Like, I need to know what the characters are doing, what they're saying to each other. Not even like full quotes. I'm just like saying like, she said this to him and he said this to them. Like, it's not even the exact wording I'm going to use. It's just like, I'm just going, and then I go back and then I rewrite it the way that I think sounds good. Because I have such a hang up on prose that I kind of have to go back and do it immediately, or else I can't just let it sit like that. So yeah.
You also have some weirdo in the audience telling you that they want book 2 and he's getting mad about it and give it to me now.
Yeah.
And I'm there. I know you see me.
Yeah, I am working on it. I had a very bad 2 years of writing and reading, honestly. And yeah, I'm back on the horse. Like I'm writing like a madman right now for my pace. It's a madman's pace. So yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could churn them out as fast as they wanted them? But at the same time, if you did, they wouldn't want to read them because there's too many of them.
Yeah.
I actually told you guys that we were going to go an hour, and I'm a man of my word, so we're going to stop. I feel like we scratched the surface barely. I would be pleased as punch to do this again anytime, but it's really nice for me to hear what you guys have to say and kind of the realities of what you're dealing with. And I'm good at this and I'm bad, that helps me a lot. And maybe it'll help some other people out there too as well. So thanks everybody. It's 9:00, so we're going to jump, but I appreciate y'all. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in a little bit. Bye.